Hi guys, I'm Alex from Mason Lifestyle. I hope everybody is having a great holiday end of the year week. I thought that I would do a pattern review on Vogue 1711, guys. And if you have been following me on Instagram, you have seen some of the pictures. I have been working on this coat very slowly. I will admit to that, very slowly for, I would say, the second week of December. That's almost roughly when I started. And when I say started, start cutting the pattern, start fitting, start doing things like that. It's taking me a good about 2.5 to 3 weeks to complete this pattern. And like I said, I've been going at it very, very, very slowly. So Vogue 1711, it is part of Rachel Comey's line. And I think this pattern came out about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I know I bought this pattern about a year ago, and I, of course, as usual, I kind of put it on my stash and look at it later on. But this is based on Rachel Comey's Yaunt coat. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, and you can still find this coat on her website. She has one in a like a pink herringbone wool with like a lamb's wool color. She also has this in this I mean, I want to call it like plasticky looking polyethylene fabric because it almost looks like that, but in different colors. I think she has it in black and she has it in fabric, but the coat is oversized, guys. It is a very, very, very oversized. Based on my measurements, they put me in the largest size range for this coat. I actually ended up cutting a size medium, and I will tell you this, I still have plenty of room to wear either a very heavy sweater or perhaps a t-shirt and a zip-up hoodie under it, and still have room. So when I say it is oversized, it's very oversized. And if you guys have some of Rachel Comey's other patterns, like this one, this is Vogue 1563. It's even older. I don't believe it is in print either, but I'm sure some of you do have this coat. Again, another of her designs. They are very oversized, and it's okay. That's what she likes to design with, but just something for you guys to keep in mind. Again, the coat, the pattern, it is a very oversized, and I went down 3 sizes to medium, and I started tissue fitting there. And obviously when I fit coats, I just like to put something else under it, right? Via a heavy sweater, or kind of like just thinking of, okay, how am I gonna wear this, right? Am I gonna wear this over a dress? Am I gonna wear this over like a turtleneck dress? Am I gonna wear just a t-shirt and then fit accordingly, right? Just because it's a coat, and you definitely want some more ease in there, unless you like things very, very tight and you are just wearing something rather not as heavy under it. Again, we all have different preferences, but that's how I usually like to fit coats, just to make sure that that they fit and that I can move, and of course a big one for me, so that I can cross my arms. So that was really important for me. So again, size medium. Again, this coat, it is a very oversized. It is meant to be that way. It also has a zipper, and it has a separating zipper, and what I wanted to make sure that that I have a two-way zipper if you are in a cold weather climate like I am, and you get in and out of the car, right? You're sitting, definitely a two-way zipper always helps. You can keep your coat on, and then you can unzip the bottom and then drive, move about, and just be comfortable in the vehicle or whatnot, right? But one of the things that that I didn't see when I had purchased the pattern was, it says you needed a third contrast for the coat, and also the coat has a rid nib cuffs, which are actually really, really nice. And I'll talk about these later on. But it does have a separating zipper, and you also have, which is, I found really, really, really nice. It is kind of like a zipper facing. So obviously the zipper is not touching your skin or touching any of your fabric. So I'm going to call it like a zipper guard. So it had one of those. And if it didn't have one of those, I was going to draft something myself and do a little fabric at the top, just like a lot of my heavy puffy winter coats do. But I did not have to do any of that with this coat because it was, they thought ahead of that. The coat is also lined, which is, again, very, very nice. Let me see if you guys can see it. And I use a twill lining, a Cupro twill lining from Mood Fabrics. It is a very nice lining. I found it at a really low price. It was like $6.99, and I have to say, per yard, and I have to say it's probably one of the nicest linings I've ever had. I'm going to try to link that on my website. And guys, you've seen this fabric before. I want to talk a little bit about this fabric too. You know, I loved this fabric when I saw it. Perhaps I will say this, it's probably not the best fabric for this coat because it does have a very, kind of like a little bit of a harder pattern to match. And you really have to look at the coat and realize that it's not fully matched, mostly in the sleeves. I did a pretty good job of making sure that a couple of spots were match, but it's not fully matched. And I will say this, I'm okay with it because you would really have to look at it with a long time to figure it out. But I would say the fabric, as beautiful as it is, it was a little bit harder to sew with it and also cut it, mostly because you have the wool, and then it feels like the wool is also woven, and it's a little bit loosely woven, all of that. But also in between, it has threads of metallic thread. So when you're cutting, and boom, you hit the metallic thread, and you really have to hit it with your scissors so you can cut it. So that was a little bit challenging, and obviously part of the pattern matching and whatnot. So that took me a long time, and obviously I only bought 3 yards of this fabric because it was a little pricey, but I could have probably used 4. The coat calls for almost 4 yards of fabric. If you include the contrast, right, the first fabric, the contrast for the collar, and also the contrast inside for the rib knit cuffs. Of course, they always tell you to buy more. I mean, for example, for the rib knit, they tell you to buy 3/8 of a yard, and you could probably get away with a lot less because, again, they're rib knit cuffs. So you probably need just like a width of about like 9 to 10 inches for that. But again, to tell you to buy a little more, and it's a-okay. But I could have bought a little bit more of my main fabric for it if I were to match it. But obviously when I bought the fabric, I did not have this pattern in mind. And if I would have had this pattern in mind, I would have definitely bought at least an additional yard so I could really match it to my liking. The coat also has will pockets, right? And when you see the front cover of the pattern, I'm going to show it to you guys again. When you see the front cover of the pattern, right, you have these darts right here at the front, and then you don't have any side darts. That is it. You got welt pockets, you got your zipper, and I'm thinking this is going to be a slam dunk. Not quite. I would say it's not, I wouldn't say it's challenging at all. I think one of the hardest parts was really mostly matching my fabric and also making sure that my fabric did not shift on me because obviously I want to match it as much as possible, especially when seams are meeting and things like that. Also, I did for sure had to, right here where the sleeves meet right here, there was a bunch of fabric. I would say probably about 1.5 inches towards the middle of the sleeve where I had to grade, keep the shoulder as is, but grade more as I went towards the middle of the sleeve, and then grade down. I can see why the pattern is built that way. If you are using that type of fabric in the cover, I could definitely see why you would just leave it as is. But since I used a wool, I definitely had to make sure that I took some of that fabric away because it was just like almost like pulling to the point that the sleeve was starting to twist. So I went ahead and did that, and that definitely fixed it. That was one of the things. And then I also had to add darts in the back of the neckline to make sure that that my shoulder seams were right in the middle of my shoulders. And again, that just kind of fixed things up. I tissue fit this pattern. I did not see any of these things when I tissue fit the pattern, but of course, when you start working with fabric, things just move and shift just a little, ever so slightly. So you have to kind of adjust as you go. Another thing, they call out for a 35-inch zipper. I had to cut the zipper. If I were to do this again, I would definitely think that perhaps I would try to see if I could order a zipper in the exact length that I need so I don't have to cut it, just because I had to fudge this area a little bit more just so it fit, and I was happy with the way that it lay. One thing that I have to say that I was really interesting about this, and I'm going to put a picture of the shoulder seam. So if you guys can see the shoulder seam is actually almost a triangle. It meets the shoulder, and then the sleeve just becomes a triangle right there. And now I'm going to show you guys a picture of the sleeve pattern. So again, this is raglan sleeves, so really interesting the way that it's done. Again, I'm thinking that if you use that polyethylene fabric that you have in the cover, it all makes sense. But when you're using something a little bit different, you really kind of have to adjust things. So again, something to keep in mind when you're making this pattern. I'm happy to say that I can cross my arms. It's a very comfortable coat. Also, I told you guys it had rib knit cuffs, which I actually love. I really love this detail, just because I'm here in the Midwest, right? And sometimes you get these coats and you really want to make sure that you don't get cold air up your arms. So this definitely helps. I could probably definitely make these longer and make thumb holes with these, but I decided no, let me just not go crazy for this. I want this to look a little bit more dressy than something that that I would wear casually. But it has rib knit cuffs, and it also has a facing, and I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm going to try to take a picture of it, but it has a facing that attaches from the cuff to the actual sides of the sleeve opening. So that was the only tricky bit in the instructions, but everything else is it's pretty straightforward on this one. I'm gonna have to say I highly recommend this coat. Just keep in mind that again, it is oversized. 2, that the pattern is now out of print. I'm sorry to say the pattern's out of print, but I will say this. I suspect that they took the pattern out of print because maybe the licensing with the designer is over for that particular pattern. But I will say, if you look for it in some of the drawers at perhaps at Joann's, I suspect that you can find it. Another recommendation, if you are making it, try to stick with wool with no patterns, nothing funky like I attempted here. Again, I love this, but it was a feat to match it all to the best of my ability. So again, in conclusion, I would definitely say get this pattern. It is so good. It's probably my one coat out of the year, and I think this is my second coat. Minerva just released another coat pattern so long that I actually did, and I'm gonna try to see if I can link that to the community tab so you guys can see it. It's one of those easy coats that you guys can follow. But if you are looking for something just a little bit more challenging, this is a great coat. I also forgot to tell you guys, the collar is meant for you to use either lamb's wool or Sherpa fabric, or just something a little bit thicker, because when you turn the collar, you can tell that they really want the top piece to really come out with some of that lamb's wool, and then the bottom to just be your regular fabric. So you also have to do some modifications to that pattern piece too. All in all, I loved it. Will I make it again? I'm not sure. I mean, there's so many other coat patterns out there, especially like this one, that perhaps next year I tackle it, or perhaps that Nomi pattern green wool coat that they just released a couple of months ago. So all right, guys, I hope you like this pattern review. I posted a lot more pictures on my blog. If you have any questions about it, go ahead and leave them below, and I will see you guys next year. All right, guys, till next time.